Today on my podcast, What's Up with Wendy, savvy, witty, and spellbinding, my special guest today brings life, intelligence, sensitivity, and humor to everything he touches. I am thrilled that Joshua Kane is my special guest today, and this podcast is brought to you by Blankwell, the #1 weighted blanket in the world. You want to sleep better? Listen in at the end of this podcast for a limited time only special promotion. My special guest today, savvy, witty, and spellbinding. He brings life, intelligence, sensitivity, and humor to everything he touches. Join me to talk about his show, Borders of the Mind, the psychic power show for the entire family. I am so excited to welcome to my show, Joshua Kane.
Good morning.
I am so excited to talk to you today.
I'm delighted to be here talking to the Fairfield County and greater community who listens to your podcast.
Well, thank you, Joshua. First of all, you have to take us back to how everything started for you from the beginning.
Well, from the very beginning.
From
my beginning or the show's beginning?
From your beginning.
Well, from my humble beginnings, I was raised in an illegal boarding house in Westport, Connecticut. You see, my mother was a realtor, and it was the time of the recession, and finances were not that strong, and the family was recently divorced. And my mother realized one night that we were going to bed at very early times, and we needed more people in our lives. So my mother started renting rooms out in our home, and we had everybody ranging from the superintendent of schools to a policeman who was moonlighting as a mailman lived with us over the years. There was even a gentleman who, when he came to live with us the first time, turned out he was running from the FBI. When he came back the second, he was doing work for the CIA. So I grew up in a very interesting background with lots of fascinating people. And I was a bookworm kid. I loved reading books, and I read everything I could lay my hands on. And I used to use the local bookstore, Remarkable Bookshop, like my public library. I would go down and go into the store, and Mr. Kramer would let me sit in the back and read through any book I could not afford to buy. And over the years, I became very much attracted to stage magic, and also to psychology and different kinds of illusion and the way the human mind worked. And neuroscience had not really been coined yet, but I was leaning in those directions, trying to find out what were the things that made our realities and that led to the kinds of stories that we would tell ourselves. And as I grew older, I became interested in theater, and I was a member of Staples Players at Staples High School, and went off to college. And I've made my living for the past 25 to 30 years doing one-man theater shows.
Wow.
Traveling across the country, performing shows such as Edgar Allan Poe's Tales of Terror, Gothic and Midnight Tribute to the Masters and the Cobb, Shakespeare's Murderers, Madmen, and Kings. And my most popular show to date has been Borders of the Mind, the psychic power show for the whole family. And in this show, I detect the latent psychic abilities of members of the audience. The show is for everyone who wishes they had gotten a letter from Hogwarts, everyone who wishes what was odd about them as a teenager, which turned out to be a latent superpower like in the X-Men, and for everyone who wishes someone would point a finger at them and say, "You are the one like Neo in the Matrix." During the performance, 40 volunteers will make it onto the stage.
Wow.
And together we are, it's amazing. Think about that. 40 people in a 500-seat theater like the Richfield Playhouse. This means that a huge percentage of the audience will be represented up on the stage.
That is so cool.
And together we're going to play a series of games. And in these games, incredible moments of synchronicity take place. And I'm also going to demonstrate skills of lie detection and advanced communication skills. Using my 5 senses, essentially I create the illusion of a 6th sense. So it looks and feels like mind reading should. And not everything works in every performance.
Right.
And that's the beauty of it.
That sounds like so much fun.
It's a blast, and the show came about because when I was 13 years old, there was a store in Westport, Connecticut, and the owner introduced me to her best friend, and her best friend's name was Gary Lee Williams. And Gary Lee, it turns out, was a magician and a mentalist, a magical performer who specialized in mind games. And Gary Lee was also a bodyguard to the Dalai Lama. And he took an interest in me. And he said, "I'm going to have you learn a set of skills that will be different than most magicians and entertainers are looking at." And he had me read books on body language by Julius Fast and Nierenberg and Carlo. He had me read How to Develop a Superpower Memory by Harry Lorraine. He had me read the first book printed on neurolinguistic programming by Bandler and Grindler called Frogs into Princesses. His goal was to turn me into a young Sherlock Holmes, essentially. Someone who, by observation, could harvest huge amounts of information about people and situations. And of course, these are the same skill sets of observation that an actor needs. And I've made my living as an actor, a classical actor, also for over 30 years. And so applying the skills of the actor, being present, being observant, and being authentic and in the moment, allows me on stage to connect with the audience and create a unique experience for every performance.
They must be blown away in your show. I can't even imagine.
It is a blast, and I love seeing what happens with people when they come up on stage as they discover just how extraordinary they are. There's something about this show that attracts the most intelligent and imaginative audiences that I've ever spent time with. The people who come to this kind of show come willing and ready to play. And it's a family-friendly show. It's a show for the whole family. And what's marvelous about it is it's one of those shows which creates great conversations in the car ride home and at the breakfast table the next morning. I get emails and letters from people who've attended the show who have gone on to expand their own abilities. People who thought they could never learn memory skills, suddenly able to keep track of everything they've packed for a vacation. People who were concerned about their communication skills, finding themselves capable from having experienced the show and then going on to read some of the sources I recommend or explore some of the topics, finding they're able to bond more deeply in their daily communication with their families, friends, and work associates.
It's so amazing. You can't miss this show, Borders of the Mind, the psychic power show for the entire family. Joshua Kane's going to be at the Ridgefield Playhouse on February 2nd, and I want to stress that this is at 4 p.m., so it's perfect timing of the day. Discover your superhero in this family-friendly show. For tickets, call 203-438-5795. I cannot imagine how the audience must react to you.
Well, the audience is just a delight. It's a self-selecting audience. As I said, you get the nicest, most imaginative people. And one of the things I say at the top of the show is, if there's anyone in the room who would not clap for Tinkerbell at the end of Peter Pan, please leave now and I will refund your money. Because cynicism and creativity cannot live in the same space. And 50% of all audiences are hostages, having been brought with to the theater by other people.
Right.
So with that in mind, I do everything I can to create an experience where the audience feels safe and trusted, and they know that they're going to be well taken care of as my guests on the stage. No laughs take place at other people's expense.
I love that.
Everyone who comes on stage is a partner in making things happen. And the show is not about me. The show is about the audience who comes. And don't you think it's incredible that we have an art center like the Ridgefield Playhouse in our community?
Oh, my God. It's one of my favorite places. It's so warm and cozy, and it's just such a happy place to be. And yes, we are very lucky.
I mean, I take a look at their season, and there's something phenomenal going on almost every night there. It's an incredible schedule. They put an entire calendar together of events for people to enjoy. And that says so much about the community, because the art center in a community is the last place outside of the public library where people come together across all religious denominations and political affiliations to bond together, to create an ephemeral event. By showing up at an arts event, people actually contribute to the well-being of their community and to the event itself. They change the event by showing up.
Yes.
And I think it is incredible that the Ridgefield Playhouse has scheduled this special event for Super Bowl Sunday. So people who are looking for something fabulous to do with their families before the game come at 4 o'clock, can leave at 5:30 and be home at 6 o'clock in time for the game and their party, but they can have had a cultural bonding experience before they get to the Buffalo Wings.
That's right. And I just want to remind everyone, this event is for the entire family. So wait, can you actually read someone's mind?
At times I actually can. It's an amazing thing. When we are in synchronicity, we can read each other's minds.
Oh my
Think
God.
about the number of times when you have answered the phone and known who it was before someone called. And I don't mean caller ID. Those extraordinary moments of synchronicity that take place when we are present with other people. And that's why I encourage people most to come to this event. When you come to the event, you tuck away your cell phones for 90 minutes. You get to disconnect from the rest of the world and actually be present. When we are present with each other as people, that's when we fall in love and when friendships happen.
Oh, you're
when
so
we are
right.
not present for people, we rupture relationships and we disconnect. So by coming to an event like this with your family and your friends, it is a chance to bond more deeply. It is a chance to create memories and connections that last a lifetime. My son is 13 years old. We take him to between 100 and 150 plays and concerts and experiences a year. We go to the theater the way other people go to church or synagogue, to hear fabulous stories told by interesting people in the company of interesting people who we can have conversations with so that we can create references that fill our lives going forward.
That's so nice.
And the show is about making stories. And I'm a storyteller at heart. I was a master teaching artist and storyteller for the state of Connecticut for a decade, way back before I moved to New York City in the late 90s. And making stories is how we make our connections. Making stories is how we create the mirror in which we see ourselves. And I hope that the audience who comes to participate at the Ridgefield Playhouse on February 2nd will create the kinds of stories together that will create a shining light in their lives.
I so agree. Borders of the Mind, the Psychic Power Show for the entire family, February 2nd at 4 p.m. You'll meet Joshua Kane. You'll experience this amazing show. For tickets, call 203-438-5795. Okay, next question for you. Tell me about your voiceovers.
Oh, as a voiceover artist, it's funny because I was a shy, stuttering kid when I was in high school.
I don't believe it.
I was. I stuttered, and I had one of the tightest speaking voices you can imagine. And I was very fortunate in the teachers who I got over the years. And I do one-man theater shows of spoken word. I was a mime when I was in high school, actually. That's how tongue-tied I was. I was a mime, and I studied with Marcel Marceau. But now, as a voiceover artist, I perform one-man theater shows, and I record audiobooks for publishers such as Penguin Random House, and commercials have ranged from Major League Baseball to Pillsbury and Little Caesars.
Wow.
It's been a wonderful opportunity, going into people's homes through the TV and the radio. And I love spoken word and commercial work. It's a fabulous thing because nobody knows what you look like. And I do have a great face for radio.
Same here. That's funny. Well, it's
immense fun, the voiceover work, and it's if there are young people listening, I've appeared in World of Warcraft, the video game, as Dungeon Master Throngus. So you have either slayed me or been slain by me at some point.
I think it was the New York Daily News that said a voice that mesmerizes, and that is certainly you. My gosh.
Oh, thank you. It's a pleasure, and it's Elizabeth Barrett Browning had a beautiful phrase. She said, "He who breathes most lives most life." And very often, I think we speak to allow us to breathe. That is
something to remember for sure.
And I hope that when people come to the Art Center and experience the show, they will take the time to come up to the stage afterwards and talk. I sit on the edge, and I'm always happy to speak with people and hear their stories and their experiences. Part of the joy of my work is coming to these communities and meeting extraordinary people. And my life is richer for the time that I get to spend with them.
I love that. You're such a wonderful person. You won't want to miss this show at the Ridgefield Playhouse, February 2nd at 4 p.m. Borders of the Mind, the Psychic Power Show for the entire family. The tickets are 203-438-5795. It's going to sell out. How exciting. I can't wait to hear all about it. I wish you all the best, and thank you for sharing this with us today.
Thank you so much for having me, and I look forward to meeting you again.
Yes, same here. Thank you, Joshua. Thanks for listening to today's podcast. I hope you enjoyed it. And if you haven't already, please subscribe to my podcast channel for weekly interviews, and please tell your friends. You can follow me on Instagram and Twitter at Wendy Lowy Sloan. That's Wendy Lowy Sloan. WendyLowySloane, and on Facebook, What's Up with Wendy. And for a limited time only, you can get the #1 weighted blanket in the world for 40% off. Use code Wendy for 40% off myblankwell.com. That's myblankwell, BLANQUIL.com for a limited time only 40% off with the code WENDY.